Hello there! It's time to construct a bot, and today we've got Silverbolt to take a look at. So, we got 39 pieces of this aerial bot dude who don't like flying, and it says build and transform because, of course, like I've said before, all this stuff on the back just makes you think that going round from this to this involves taking it apart, and that's just some silly graphic design on Hasbro's part. So yeah, we're just going to take a tour around the whole experience of building this thing, straight from the sealed box to the finished thing. Because I really just want to show off what you actually get in one of these. Because I know there are still a lot of people who are sort of on the fence as to whether they want to try construct bots or not, and maybe actually having a good look at what you do actually get, rather than just giving a review of the finished thing, might sway some people. Either way, I really like this packaging. It's just a nice little square box, feels like there's a lot in it, and there's a nice bit of art on the side, and I'll keep it there on a shelf like a book. But that's just me. But saying that, of course, it means that I want to be a little bit more careful with getting this open, because I don't want to destroy this cardboard. Yes, I jump cut that part because, well, it's really hard to get a handle on this box in the position I'm filming this in. So yeah, open it up. It's a lot easier to sort of get into than a box of Lego. I mean, I know it's really satisfying doing that whole putting your thumb through the perforation bit, but then they sort of make the flaps weird and you can't really open it without tearing it, can you? Anyway, let's tip this out. So, inside we get one big bag full of what appear to be large armour parts. Small bag, which is the skeleton by the look of it. Full colour, nice big instruction book. Weird superfluous bit of I don't know what, but I always throw away in every Hasbro purchase. And then a code for the ConstructBots gamey thing, which I'm going to put here and let you read, take down and put in yourself, because I'm never going to use this because it won't run on my computer. So, you know, if you're luckier that way, then by all means take that code. If you're the first person to see this, have however many ConstructBot points this is to go make your own on the app or whatever. Okay, let's get into these bags of bits. Now this is the point where if I was some sort of Lego fanatic weirdo, I would sit and sort out all the parts. But I'm not going to do that because it's far more fun taking ages looking for the one you want. Speaking of taking ages, I'm going to just sort of cut straight to the part where we've got a fully formed skeleton, because, well, I don't need to go through the instructions for that, because I've already built 4 of these things and they all have exactly the same skeleton. So once you've built one, you literally have built all of them. So let's just go ahead and do that. We've got a red and yellow torso piece here, which for some reason always comes ready-made when it is actually 2 separate pieces. What do we want? Here's some hips. Pop that in that ball joint there. You've got a body, la-di-da. Let's start kitting it out with things like a neck and shoulders. Put some hips on. Then we can stick on some shins. And ankles, and well, you already see ankles, wrists and necks are all the same little ball clip connection thing. Now these are the forearms, and you have to get these right around if you want it to transform once you're done. So you need to have this peg here facing inwards, which seems a bit weird, yes, and the 2 sort of holes there facing away, I suppose, towards the hand. So there's that. Have some wrists, and well, there's your basic skeleton. I've got to say, I wasn't expecting it to be this sort of colour arrangement for Silverbolt, but I guess it fits. He's mostly gold a lot of the time, isn't he? Now here is where we start to attach the armour parts. I mean, not all of the parts are armour, because of course this skeleton hasn't got a head, hands or feet. So it's pretty easy to just, you know, grab a piece and go, oh well, yes, this is clearly a foot, and stick it on here. I suppose as this is the first sort of ball joint connection I'm making in this build, I should point out that, yeah, it's not really a great connection. It won't click, it won't make a noise to tell you it's in there properly. You've just got to sort of feel that that's in as far as it will go. these ball joints are really tight because they are made with this sort of co-moulded plastic with the sort of rubber on the end of the ball, and while that's good for holding a pose, it just does really feel like it's difficult to move the parts, and at the end of the day the rubber on the ends of the balls does go a bit funny if you move them too much. So I don't really know. I guess in the long run Hasbro are thinking, oh, that's good, we'll be able to make something that doesn't wobble about once you've made it, but well, it's still going to wobble about along these joints, and eventually the rubber will go funny. So I guess it's a bit of a compromise situation with the construction of these, but whatever, you live with it, it's not too bad. Now here are some hands, let's give them those. And I suppose a head would be good next, and here's where I mentioned the thing about looking like Wheeljack. You can see he's got the big sort of wing ears going on like Wheeljack would, and the whole sort of crest and everything, but he's actually got a face and that weird sort of nose strap that Silverbolt always has. So this is a bit of a weird thing. Why spend the money on just remoulding the face when they could have just made a whole new headpiece? This is something that's been going on in Constructbox for actually a few figures. The breakdown I've got over there, which you would have seen earlier, has Hound's head but a different face. It's a bit weird. It makes me think, you know, why spend the money on just doing that and just make a completely new piece that looks just like the character's head, not their face in someone else's head. But hey, you know, if you get this set, you've already got Wheeljack like me. I suppose this is a way of giving him a mouth plateless face, if you like. Yeah, stick that noggin on there, which isn't always easy. It can be difficult situating it properly, and I'm having particular trouble with this one today. Had to be because I'm filming, didn't it? Okay, there we go. If you have the same sort of difficulty with getting noggins on these guys, one little tip, one little hint which I can share is have their head looking all the way up, and you have to sort of push the joint right up into the back of their head there, because that's where it really connects. It's not really a neck, it's more like a sort of cranium joint, I don't know. You can sort of say that that's his skeleton properly done now, and it's time to flesh out these bones, which means it's now a good idea to take a look at the old instruction book, because while it's pretty obvious that these pieces are shin guards or whatever, it does help to get them round the right way, otherwise a lot of the time the thing won't transform properly because things get in the way. Also, things like the sort of hip and shoulder guards, you may notice are actually different pieces, and it helps to get them right as well, because one set will be for the shoulders, one set will be for the hips, and yeah, it's just nice to get them the right way around. And of course, for the purposes of this video, I'm making it as the instructions tell you to, but no doubt I'll go and mod it later. Okay, here we go. We want the pieces with the sort of two notches in for the hips. Okay, that's those. And the shin guards go on with this yellow bit facing down. Okay. Armour it up, son, yeah! There you got some legs. I'm starting to think I was a bit of a fool for expecting silver parts, because, well, look at that. The box makes it look like he's made out of silver bits when it's just all white. Slightly disappointing. Okay, so that leaves all the rest of these grey pieces as shoulders, or upper arms, whatever you want to say. Then we've got the forearm guards, which is another sort of thing to check the instructions for, to make sure they're around the right way. I mean, really, I guess it's only common sense because you've got this big hole here and that will allow the arm to bend. Okay, now it's time to get this snazzy chest plate on. And at this point, the instructions give you a particular warning. Use the short one, not the long one, because there are two different sizes of connectors in these, and usually the long one is just for the back plate. But I never remember that, so I always have to look at the instructions. Clippity clip. Clip on the crotch and fold that round, tab it in, you've got a chest, hurrah! And we'll see, like I said, the instructions tell you to use the long bit for the back plate. Where's that? Here it is. This will invariably become the front of his vehicle mode. Guess that looks okay. Yes, Mr. Instruction Man, I'm doing what you told me. There we go. Clip that on there. Fold it down. We have the complete torso. Now everything that's left is just superfluous parts like Autobot badges, which is just, you know, unpainted red plastic. I remember a day when these were painted. Yeah, that day was only a few months ago. Bit of a shame that it only took sort of 2 waves for them to cheapen these to a level where they don't bother painting the symbols. But who really gives a monkeys? Stick that on his chest, make sure it's nice and straight, because remember, an Autobot must always have a perfectly straight badge. It's an offence to have a wonky one. Now we've got to get the wings on. All very straightforward indeed. Yes, yes, yes. Clip, clip, clip. Oh, and they even tell you to fold them round so they're not quite as obtrusive. Isn't that nice? Give him his nice blue sword. Oh, that does look nice, doesn't it? And his robot mode's finished. Yay! I've got to say, on first impressions, I quite like the look of this Silverbolt. I am disappointed that he's not shinier. I honestly was expecting a silver Silverbolt, but there we go. I guess that's what you get when they Photoshop everything. Yeah, I like the detail. One thing I've got to say is I don't know where his parts come from. Most of the guys in this wave reuse other people's parts, like breakdowns made out of mostly Hound. And while I can see that he's got Wheeljack's head with a different face, and I don't know, maybe some of the armoured guards are from Wheeljack? I can't quite remember. I don't know where his feet are from, I don't know where his shins are from, don't know where these wings are from, or the chest, or the back. It's all quite nice and interesting. I can't believe I've only just noticed he's got a smirk on his face. Looks a bit too cocky for Silverbolt. He's literally the only character whose main attribute is that he's unsure of himself, but okay, whatever. Not that, of course, any kids that will be buying this will know who he is. Right, okay, we've covered his robot mode. Time to transform him, and of course the instructions tell you to do that as well. They're not really thick because they're in loads of languages, because there is no text in here. It's every step to do everything with this figure. So, robot to vehicle. I've got to say, I won't really be needing the instructions for this because, as I said, with the skeletons of the figures all being the same, the transformation schemes are invariably the same as well. Invariably seems to be the drinking game word of this video. Let's get on. Take his sword out of his hand, open his chest up. Then you want to fold his head in, close it back up again, fold the back plate round to the top. Take his feet, looks like you want to be angling them round so that they sort of go together. Then you untap the waist, spin it round, fold the legs up at the hips, and then one of these ports in his leg will go on this red bit here, and then it looks like these bits on his feet will notch into the bits underneath the cockpit. Then you want to get his arms round, sort of bend them one click, and tab the bit on his forearm into his hip. Suppose we can extend the wings here, and then you sort of rotate his hands round so they're flat, and then just fold them up so that they're mildly out of the way, although of course they're not hidden at all. And there's his jet mode. It's a jet. Looks quite cool, I have to say. There's something about the style of these Constructbot figures that I do like. Of course the vehicle modes are really nondescript and it's just like, oh, it's a flying thing. Yeah, I'm not really offended too much by this jet mode. Yeah, it doesn't really have any engines in the back and it's got a tiny little blue cockpit. But it looks pretty sleek, pretty aerodynamic. I quite like it. It seems to sort of fit for a sort of Cybertronian aerial bot, I guess. But where to put the sword? Well, we've got a port down here, so it could sort of stick out like a nose weapon. That's silly. There are, of course, ports on his wings. Yeah, could do that. Basically, of course, the whole thing is flipping covered in 5mm ports, so it honestly doesn't matter where you put the sword because there's plenty of space for it. Stick it on the side there, maybe? Or, I don't know, move his badge, take that off. Stick that on the front of the vehicle mode, and then his sword can go back here in a more sort of central position. It's your choice at the end of the day, because of course it's a construction toy. You make it exactly how you want to, despite the fact I've just shown you go body instructions. Because I mean, hey, maybe you don't like the forward swept wings, looks a bit aggressive for an Autobot. So take them off, swap them round, maybe that fits him a bit better. Of course you've just seen me put it all together, so hopefully you can now appreciate the real level of interchangeability of all these parts. Yeah, it's not Lego, but it's still pretty darn good for a make-your-own Transformers thing. I think it's safe to say I will remain an advocate of this line until its inevitable demise, probably a year hence. But let's keep going with Constructbots and enjoy them. Maybe I'll do another one of these. Maybe you'd like to see me combine Breakdown and Silverbolt, as it tells you to on the back of the instructions here, which seems to create a properly weird looking bloke, and I've got no idea what his name would be. Silverdown Breakbolt? Breakbolt sounds alright, yeah, whatever, let's go with that. So there we have it, Constructbot Silverbolt in all of his non-silver glory. I've got to say, yeah, I'm pretty annoyed about that. It's all flat paint, white and yellow. when I was totally expecting to have some nice silver and gold paint apps. Oh dear. I mean, look at that, on the instructions even. That's meant to be a picture of the actual figure, and it's got like gold bits and... oh... You've let me down a bit this time, Hasbro, but I'll let you off because you've got a nice little building video out of it. Catch you next time! Not our girlfriend.